Have you ever stopped to think about, I don't know, your phone or the coffee you're drinking? How did it get to you? Well, it was all part of this massive, almost invisible ballet of global shipping that literally powers our world. And right now, that entire system is going through a massive, and I mean massive, revolution. So let's get right into it.
All right, so to really get where we're headed, you got to look back at where we came from, right? For hundreds of years, shipping was just brutal. It was all manual labor, incredibly dangerous, super slow, and just plain inefficient. But the future, which by the way is already here, it's the total opposite. We're talking automation, way more safety, and things running 24/7. And you know, this whole transformation, it doesn't even start out on the ocean. It starts right there at the dock.
Yeah, we are now in the age of the automated port. I mean, ports without people. This is really where that whole fourth industrial revolution you hear about, AI and robotics, is hitting the shipping world first, and it's hitting it hard.
Okay, so a key piece of this puzzle is something called an AGV, or Automated Guided Vehicle. The easiest way to picture these things? Just imagine giant, self-driving robotic carts. Seriously, that's what they are. These are the new workhorses of the modern port, just shuttling massive containers around with incredible precision. No driver needed.
So what does this actually look like? Well, it's kind of like a perfectly choreographed robotic dance. First, you've got these AI-assisted cranes that lift the containers right off the ship. Then, those AGVs we just talked about, they autonomously zip the containers over to the yard. And finally, another set of robotic cranes sorts and stacks them, ready for pickup. The craziest part? The whole thing is run by a central brain. It's called a Terminal Operating System, or TOS. Think of it like a digital air traffic controller for every single container, making sure every vehicle and crane is exactly where it needs to be to keep things moving lightning fast.
And this setup shows just how smart design can make these systems unbelievably safe. A great example is what they call the Hamburg model. It's genius in its simplicity, really. They just create totally separate zones. You have the robots, the AGVs, operating in their own dedicated area, and then you have the human-driven trucks in their own separate lanes. By just keeping humans and machines apart, you practically eliminate the risk of collisions. It makes these new ports way safer than the old one.
But look, it's not all perfect, right? This revolution has its challenges. On the one hand, the advantages are just undeniable. I mean, 24/7 operations, a huge improvement in worker safety, and they're usually electric, so they're better for the environment. But, on the other hand, the upfront cost to build one of these is astronomical. And you've got this huge new risk of cyber attacks. And of course, there's the very real human cost. And that human cost, it's a big one. We're talking about a 50% reduction in the traditional port workforce. Think about that. For every 2 jobs at a port before automation, one of them is just gone. Now, it's not that all the jobs disappear. It does create new kinds of jobs. You need robotics technicians, data analysts, people to oversee the whole system. But it's a huge disruption for the traditional workforce, and that's something we can't ignore.
So this AI revolution isn't just staying at the port. Nope, it's heading out to the open ocean. We are now entering the age of the autonomous ship. And yeah, you could call them ghost ships, vessels that are guided by AI, not by a human crew.
I mean, listen to this. This technology totally flips the idea of a ship's captain on its head. That classic image, the captain on the bridge, hands on the wheel, navigating a storm. That's being replaced with something totally different. A highly skilled operator sitting in an office, maybe thousands of miles away, monitoring an entire fleet of ships from a screen. The captain is becoming more of a remote supervisor, ready to step in only if there's an emergency.
Now, this change isn't just happening with a flip of a switch. It's a clear, step-by-step process. We're actually already deep into level 1, where AI is basically a co-pilot, helping human crews make better decisions. The next big jump is to level 2, remote control. And the endgame, level 3, is the fully autonomous ship, where the AI is completely in charge.
So why are we even doing this? What's the big push for AI at the helm? Well, the reasons are pretty powerful. First off, AI could drastically reduce human error, which, by the way, is the #1 cause of accidents at sea. Second, it saves a ton of money on crew and fuel costs, because the AI can optimize every single part of the journey. And this isn't just a theory. The Yara Birkeland, a Norwegian ship, is already out there. It's fully electric, fully autonomous, and it's moving cargo right now as we speak.
But of course, this tech brings up some massive new questions, and this one is a doozy. If an AI-controlled ship crashes, who's to blame? Is it the company that owns the ship? The programmers who wrote the software? The manufacturer who built it?
Right now, international law has basically no answer, and that single question is a gigantic roadblock for the entire industry. So, just when it feels like technology is about to create this perfectly efficient, predictable global system, bam! The most unpredictable element of all comes roaring back into the picture: human politics.
Seriously, think about it. You can have the smartest AI in the world and the most automated ports imaginable, but one single decision made by a politician can throw that entire, beautifully optimized system into complete chaos overnight.
And here's a perfect example. 50%. When the US slapped tariffs of up to 50% on a bunch of Chinese goods, it sent a shockwave through the global supply chain that no computer algorithm could have possibly seen coming.
Yeah, these tariffs aren't just, numbers in an accounting book. They literally force shipping companies to redraw the map of global trade, and it creates this huge, chaotic scramble to figure things out. So, how do you deal with that? Well, a shipping line, let's say a big one like Costco, has to get creative. To avoid massive fees on its Chinese-built ships, maybe they just start skipping U.S. ports altogether. They could reroute their cargo to Mexico or Canada and then use trucks or trains to get it across the border. Or they might lean on their alliance partners to carry the U.S.-bound stuff on ships that aren't Chinese. Suddenly, it's not about the most efficient route anymore. It's a really complex and expensive puzzle.
And the ripple effect from this goes even deeper. Over the long term, some manufacturers are just deciding it's not worth the hassle. To avoid the tariffs, they're actually moving their entire production out of Asia. Now, that doesn't just change where a few ships go. That is the potential to shift the entire center of gravity for global manufacturing and trade. It's a huge deal.
So, as we start to pull all this together and look to the future, you can see these incredibly powerful forces, technology and human politics, colliding and completely reshaping the world of shipping.
At the end of the day, you've got three main things steering the ship, so to speak. You have the tech revolution on land with port automation, you have the AI revolution out at sea with these autonomous ships, and then, wrapped around all of it, you have the wild card, the unpredictable and very human force of geopolitics. These three things are all tangled up together now, each one affecting the others. So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's this. The technology part, the automation, the AI, that's an irreversible trend. It's happening, and it's only going to get bigger. But its path forward is not going to be some straight, easy line. No way. It's going to be twisted and knocked off course by some very human problems. Cybersecurity threats, the massive challenge of creating new international laws, and of course, the messy world of global politics.
And that leaves us with one last, really interesting question to think about. In the next decade, what's going to have more control over global trade? The cold, hard logic of a silicon chip, or the unpredictable outcome of a political handshake? Honestly, the answer to that is going to define the next chapter of our global economy.